So, It 2017 is being brought to us by Andy Muschietti, the director of Mama, and is partly an adaptation of Stephen King's original book, It. And I'm sure I don't need to go into great detail about It. It's a phenomenon. It basically brought evil clowns into our culture. But I'll give a synopsis really quick. It follows 7 kids, and they gotta go kill a clown that's basically trying to eat them and haunt their dreams. That's pretty much the synopsis. So, with all that being said, let's talk about It 2017. The first pro that comes to my mind for this story was they didn't try to adapt a 400-page long book into one long movie. They did that with the 90s movie, and I know some people like it, but oof, that second part, that is really rough. It feels really forced in there. This film basically follows the first part of that 90s movie into like a 3-act movie structure where we follow the kids and watch them grow up and develop. I gotta say, one thing this film does masterfully, in my opinion, was character development. It spends the majority of the time building up these characters' friendships. Like, it spends time with these characters being stupid. Like, one character keeps just making dick jokes and they laugh at him, like saying, you're stupid. No one's even laughing at you because you're so stupid. They feel like kids. They sound like kids sound. This sounds like jokes I would have made at my friends when I was a middle schooler. And they do things like kids would do, you know? Have fun over the summer. Go cliff jumping. Ride their bikes. Just be friends. And the film does it so well, I am actually kind of convinced that these kids are friends in real life. That's how well it's handled. Another thing I have to say this film does quite well was it handles dark themes respectfully. Like, in the first 10 minutes of the film, we see a kid get his arm bit off. It's super dark and not restrained, and I love that. This is a little bit icing on the cake for me, but I'm talking like real dark themes. Like pedophilia, child abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, all kinds of different abuses that kids in this film go through. And it doesn't push it. I have to give the movie respects for doing that. A lot of movies nowadays, they won't even touch that. And now something I'm sure you're all waiting for me to say, the horror parts of the film. A lot of them were good. I enjoyed quite a bit of them. They're not just some cheap, flimsy jump scare scenes that a lot of movies do nowadays, like Annabelle and The Conjuring and all those stupid Insidious universe movies. They're well-handled jump scares. They have tension behind them and they don't just end flat. They're scenes with horror in them, which is a surprise for me in 2017. But, and I know this is a big but, some horror scenes in this film are legitimately terrible. And this will be the one I spoil because I don't want to ruin some scares for people. Not that they're really that good, but the scene with the projector was one of the dumbest scenes in the whole film. Essentially what happens after they kick it down, Pennywise becomes like this 13-foot tall giant monster crawling on his knees at the kids. And it looks terrible. I don't know how anyone could get scared at that. It was one of the dumbest, hilarious scenes I've ever watched. And some scenes just end flat. Like, they have a jump scare, and then they just end. Like, there's no, like, real reverberation effects across the film. They kind of just feel like, here's a horror scene, because we gotta have bursts of horror throughout this film. And they don't really feel earned. They kind of just feel forced. And that's a little disappointing to me in an It film. Another criticism I have for the film was it stretched on for a good while. Like, some parts, I was getting bored. And I was a little furious because I was like, where the hell's Pennywise? And another thing was they don't have characters in the film for a good runtime. Like Mike and Stanley, they're barely in it. Mike in particular, because he actually did things in the first movie. He researched Pennywise. He was the guy who kept like little footnotes about him. In this, he kind of just has a cattle prod gun, and that's pretty much it. And Stanley, he's barely in it. No one even mentions him. I don't even think he has more than 20 lines of dialogue in the film. That's how little his character is in the film. And that's like the double-edged sword I'm in with the story. You have these like giant sections of film where I was like, okay, I'm getting bored. You could have just shown like Mike or Stanley in them doing things. They have like a lot of runtime spent with other characters. Why not those two? And that's basically a summation of my thoughts on the story. So now let's talk about something I think was quite good in this film, the cinematography. Wow, this was a good looking film. Whether it be like aerial shots of this town, or just like shots of the house, the haunted house, Pennywise, whatever. It was a gorgeous looking film. I think it's quite undeniable. And it really had a benefit to the horror scenes. Because they're well shot, and you need a good well shot scene in a horror movie to have it be effective. And they do it, and I love it. Cinematography in this film is great. Please notice that if you watch this film, because it's really good looking. And now on to the character portion of the review. I have to say this now. The kids do an excellent job in this movie. Every single one of them was amazing. I am honestly excited to see more of these kids' works because they better get more roles after this because they were all excellent in this film. I have to give them all props, each and every single one of them, because holy shit, they did good. However, not to retread old ground, some characters do get way more screen time than others. Like Bill and Bev, they essentially get the most screen time together because they're like the heroes. They're the ones that rise up to the occasion, and the other ones are just like, I don't want to go near that thing. It's an evil clown. What do you think I am, stupid? I don't want to die. However, two characters that I think absolutely stole the show were Eddie and Richie. And I know I can't remember the actors' names. I'm sorry, I'm really terrible with names. I'm stupid. But they had a good dynamic together. Like the scene in like that drainage pipe where Eddie and Richie are just like talking. Eddie's like, I'm not going in that water. And Richie's like, why not? Because it's basically piss and shit. That was hilarious. They had a good dynamic because Eddie kept being a germaphobe and Richie kept making fun of him for it. They were super good together. However, the one thing I think everyone who watches this can agree on is Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. Oh man, this guy nails this role. Where Tim Curry felt more like an insane guy dressed up like a clown with supernatural abilities, Bill Skarsgård feels more like a evil presence that's been there ever since like the beginning of time. And he's just this creepy alien-like thing. I don't want to keep giving him praise because I'll just keep giving him praise and the review will be like 20 minutes long. But he absolutely nailed this role to perfection, and I have to give the man incredible props for that. So, with that being said, let's get on to the score. I'm going to give this a 7. Some stuff really was quite annoying. Character portion stuff pissed me off quite a bit. Some story dragged on for a long stretch of time, and some of the horror scenes were just stupid. However, I enjoyed this film. I would watch it again. Hell, I'd probably even buy it. It's a legitimate, good film. And I have to give Warner Brothers props for not turning it into just some generic horror movie. And with that, we mark the end of this review. Have you seen it? Tell me what you thought about it. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? You know, leave all that YouTube stuff that people say to do. I don't know. Keep on living. I like saying that at the end of these things. Because one day you won't. I won't. Nothing will matter what you do. So, I don't know. Do it while you can. And I'll see you for the next internet thing I do. Peace out, peeps. You're pretty cool.